Now I got it.
Okay. It was on pause, sorry. I'll start again. It being the evening of Wednesday, July 27th, and a quorum being present, I'm going to call the meeting of the Bellingham Conservation Commission to order, pursuant to Governor Baker's signing of Senate Bill 2475, an act relating to extending certain COVID-19 measures adopted during the state of emergency and as extended by the state legislature in July of 2022. The Bellingham Conservation Commission will meet utilizing the Zoom online option. Instructions and invitations are available at the town website, www.bellinghamma.org. Moving forward in the meeting, the chair instructs the meeting administrator to withhold access to speak at the meeting until or unless such persons requesting to speak are visible on screen, and respectfully request such access. Okay. The Bellingham Conservation Commission will hold continuation of public hearings in accordance with the Wetlands Protection Act, General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40, the Bellingham Wetlands Protection Bylaw, on the notice of intent for the proposed 19-lot residential subdivision entitled Prospect Hill Estates, located at Assessors Map 69, Parcel 87, and Map 65, Parcel 20 and 22 off Lake Street, Bellingham, and Prospect Street, Franklin. Well, the project includes 19 residential lots, roadway utilities, grading, and stormwater management system. The project proposes impacts of 35 linear feet to bank, 80 square feet of land under water bodies, 490 square feet of bordering vegetative bordering land subject to flooding, 580 square feet of bordering vegetative wetlands with 1,200 square feet of replication, and total impacts to riverfront area of 126,674 square feet. That includes 52,049 square feet of inner riparian riverfront area and 74,625 square feet of outer riparian area. Paul McManus, Ecotech, Worcester, Mass. Have submitted the following on behalf of Lou Petrozzi, Wall Street Development, Westwood, Mass. The continuations will be held online via the Zoom option on Wednesday, July 27th at 7. Okay.
View gallery.
Wait, yeah. Okay, so I guess we need to find out who's going to be doing the presentation. Is it going to be Bob Truax or Lou Petrozzi?
Mr. Chairman?
Yep.
This is Lou Petrozzi for Wall Street Development Corp.
Okay.
How are you tonight?
Good.
As you know, we submitted revised plans to the commission a couple of weeks back. I have with me tonight Rob Truax from GLM Engineering and Paul McManus from Ecotech. And I don't know if you want a overview of what the revisions were for the plan, or whether or not you want to have your peer reviewer give us his comments on his review of the plan.
We don't have the peer review.
No,
We don't have the peer review comments, and we do not allow them to be presented at a meeting without prior review.
Oh, interesting. Okay, so what's your preference then? Would you like Rob Truax to go over the revisions to the plan?
Certainly.
Okay, and he can describe what changes were made, and Paul McManus is here to answer any questions relative to the wetland line that we both, when we were out on the site walk, were able to review. So Rob, why don't you go ahead and give the commission an overview of what revisions were made and on the revised plan.
I'm going to ask Dominic from BSC if he has any questions to just chime in. I understand we haven't conducted the peer review or haven't received it, but before we continue the hearing. I'm gonna provide the applicant and his representatives with some observations again from the commission. So, Bob, if you want to proceed.
Unmute, Rob, unmute. There you go.
Okay, for the record, Mr. Chairman, Rob Truax, GLM Engineering Consultants. So since our last meeting, we went out to the site, we did some soil testing in the area of the drainage structures. Per the last meeting, we had comments from the commission, no comments from the peer review, obviously, and we tried to address some of the comments that the commission had made. One being that the drainage basins need to have a 50-foot setback to the resource area or to the wetland boundary, bordering vegetated wetland. The second one was the 4 foot of separation to groundwater for the bottom of the drainage basins, and soil testing within the basins themselves. So we did go out to the site. I believe the chairman, you were out there with us. We were out there with the Board of Health agent. We did quite a bit of testing on both sides of the wetlands. We did do them within the areas of the drainage basins. We did get results that required us to make some changes to the basins to raise them up based on the water table. So as a result, we did raise the drainage basins, which as a result of that caused us to raise the roadway, which raised the crossing some, approximately 3 feet. And then we also changed the lot configuration on the site to make some of the lots conform to the upland requirement. Under your local bylaw, as you stated the last time, the 200-foot riparian zone is considered a resource area and therefore does not qualify as uplands under the local regulations. So we made some changes to lots 8, 9, and 10. We did not make a change to lot 3 or 12. They do not, as they stand today, have the upland requirements to be a buildable lot of your local bylaw. But as a result, we just left them as B. We did label the upland that's on them, so they are labeled on the overall site plan. So the other things that we did change, I'm just going to share my screen.
Sure.
If you don't, I've got so many screens open right now. Okay, everyone see that? Just the overview of the site.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm going to scroll down. So, Paul McManus has been out to the site, and I'm going to let him speak when I'm done. And he's done some reflagging, some more flagging, and one of the areas that we did not represent, I'm going to go to the larger scale plans. So we gave you some existing condition plans in this revision, that 40 scale. So you can see here, this is the wetland area in the middle. The roadway goes through this existing cart path once we get done. So there's been a reflagging of the riverbank by Paul McManus. And then there's also been, let me go this way, there was an isolated wetland on the other side that was not identified in the first filing. As you can see, this would show up on lot 3. And within that isolated wetland, he identified a vernal pool area. So that shows up when you get into the lotting layout. You get into this lot 3 area, and you can see this vernal pool. And pretty much we took the house location off of lot 3. That would no longer be buildable under the local bylaw for the uplands. And this is just a 40 scale, shows the drainage basins being pulled back outside the 50-foot buffers. And that's pretty much an overview of the changes. It really was pertaining to the drainage system and the upland areas.
Okay, Rob, I have several observations. Drainage basin number 2, the basin bottom is exactly 50 feet from the resource area line, but grading is within the 50-foot, 25 to 50-foot limited disturbance zone. So that's one thing. The second thing is basin number 1. When we were out in the field, I very clearly suggested that that basin be moved from the inner riparian zone. And as everybody well knows, and Paul will confirm, if there's a viable alternative, there's no need to put a drainage structure in the inner riparian zone. In the outer riparian zone, it is acceptable. And we talked about it in the field, and the inner riparian zone goes right through the basin. But before we even get to that point, I'd like to speak about the alternative analysis and the comments that DEP made, because the commission is going to have to make a decision relative to the crossing. Your preferred do you have your alternatives, Rob, available? The alternative.
I didn't prepare the alternative.
Does Paul have
Who
them?
prepared the alternatives analysis?
Did Paul provide them?
I prepared them, Mr. Chairman.
I'm sorry.
Lou Petrosi, I prepared the alternatives analysis.
Okay, so do you have alternative one available?
I do not.
Okay, so that
Let me see
being
if I
said, DEP, and I'm sure everyone here is familiar with the DEP file number issuance document. And they talk about the use of the two entrance cul-de-sac design, alternative negates the need for the wetland crossing. Now, one of the things that I notice is that the bank has been reflagged. And the reason the bank has been reflagged is because at your direction, resource area was altered by removal of an impediment to an old drainage structure. And that's an issue that's separate, but I think the commission would consider that an unpermitted alteration by lowering the water level.
Well, we would disagree, Mr. Chairman.
I'm sorry?
We would disagree with that opinion.
On what grounds?
On what grounds? It's an existing culvert that was clogged and causing flooding onto the property.
And was
We're
it
allowed-
clogged recently?
You know, it's been clogged for very many for a
Very
long
many
time.
years. So it was an existing condition.
We don't, Mr. Chairman, I don't want to argue the point at this point.
Well,
It's a clogged culvert. If you don't want to recognize it as a clogged culvert and you think it's an unauthorized activity, we can do that exercise if you want. But in our opinion, the culvert was clogged. It was causing a backup of the water onto the upland portion of the property, and it was removed. The obstruction was removed, and the water is flowing freely as it should have been.
I'm sorry, as a regulatory authority, we will need to carefully consider that because we do not agree with that. However,
Okay,
we
well-
do agree with the observation by DEP that there is a viable alternative that will eliminate the need for the crossing and for the impacts to resource areas that will result from that.
Well, listen, we have an existing crossing there. It's a limited project. If the commission
It's
doesn't.
not a
feel-
limited project, sir.
What?
It is not
If-
a limited
if-
project.
if-
You
if
have
the
an
commission-
alternative
Okay,
access.
Mr. Ch-
So it's very clear in the regulations. I'll speak with Paul on this. You
I'll-
have an alternative access to the site.
Let's move on.
Yes.
We're not going to agree on this point, Mr. Chairman, so I'm not going to argue with you any further. If the commission doesn't agree to allow us to use this crossing, then we'll go to DEP and let's see what they say. I don't care.
Well, Lou, if I may, I think I understand DEP's comment. They see the alternative coming in from I'll call it the top. The issue though is that I am fairly confident that as a practical matter, that a long dead end that would result with that alternative to get in and access the property in the vicinity of the crossing, on the back side of the crossing, but to access that portion of the property in the area of the open recently mined pit would be a very long cul-de-sac. And in my experience, I don't have the local planning regs in front of me, but in my experience, that's just never allowed. And that to get in and use that portion of the property, that the planning board would, I believe in very high likelihood, require a second means of access, which would then obviously be the crossing. If there were to be a second one, you know, where it's proposed is, you know, where there's an existing crossing is certainly the logical place to put it. So I think maybe what we should do is, you know, actually measure that, lay that out, measure it, look at the planning board regs and address that. Because I think that as a practical matter, what the DEP is suggesting is just not workable as an alternative.
Well, it's what the DEP had suggested and that we are looking for an evaluation upon.
That's fine, and I'm suggesting that we can do that. But recognizing that you don't have that in hand.
However, it does not negate the fact that the applicant went in there and messed around in a resource area without a permit. We all saw it on site. You saw it, Paul. We saw it, and the applicant did admit to altering the resource area.
And that's why
I would consider that to be maintenance of the culvert that's there. If you wanna pick sides here, I'd say maintenance of, we're entitled to maintain that culvert so that it's in good working order.
And you certainly can do that, Lou, but you need to have a permit to do it. We cannot allow
Mr. Chairman,
people to
Mr.
go
Chairman,
into
Mr.
into
Chairman.
resource areas and alter resource areas.
Mr. Chairman, is Miss Matthews a member of the commission?
Excuse me.
I'm asking a question to the chairman.
She's the administrator.
she is our
Not a-
administrator. She was present at,
She's speaking as if she's
Site
a
visit.
member of the commission.
are you going to let me
Right to
speak?
permits.
May I speak now? May I speak or not?
You have the floor.
Well, thank you. Thank you. We were present on the site. We saw that the water was significantly lowered. You admitted to making an alteration within a resource area by removing an impediment. And as a result, the water in that area was significantly reduced. And you said in the field, and I quote, well, it won't be that high next year.
That's right.
Because mean high annual water mark will be lower because I removed the impediment. Now,
We maintain the culvert, Mr. Chairman.
you will
However
listen
you wanna-
to me, sir. What our administrator stated was that as a matter of course, we do not allow people to make any kind of correction to drainage structures without some sort of filing. Now, if you were the DPW, you would have to do the same thing. You would have to file, and we would have to evaluate what the results would be. Now, that particular crossing has not been used for many years by your own admission. So what you were doing was you were intentionally attempting to lower the water level so that you would have less resource area present on the site.
That's your opinion, Mr. Chairman.
And it will be-
You're entitled to it.
Substantiated by the peer reviewer who was present.
So so I don't know, what do you want us to do?
I want you to substantially consider the alternatives analysis that was highlighted by DEP, because we, in our very first hearing, spoke about an alternatives. And it will do another thing that will assist you, because one of your lots had no particular development proposed for it. And under our local bylaw regulations, that would be project segregation. all.
We'll, as Mr. McManus has suggested, we'll look at the alternatives analysis and we'll present our findings to the commission at a subsequent meeting. But as far as the maintenance of the culvert goes, we're willing to, I'm sticking with our position. If we're in violation of your regulations, so be it. We'll take a fine.
You'll pay the fine. It's better to say, I'm sorry, than to do the filing. It's not just our regulation, Lou. It's not just
Okay.
our regulation.
Listen,
It's a
I've been
matter
doing
of the
this-
Wetlands Protection Act.
Okay,
You remove the structure from a regulated resource area without a permit.
okay, sorry.
We will consider your alternatives analysis because if you agree with the commission's opinion that it's the appropriate course of action, then the crossing becomes a moot point.
We'll discuss alternatives and we'll review them together.
Okay, so we all have something to think about.
Do you have any other comments, Mr. Chairman, that besides that?
Well, actually, we did. It's a similar comment. It's the same comment that we brought up at our very first meeting. And it relates to the 81P A&R lots on Lake Street. I believe we talked to Paul McManus about that down the road. The commission won't entertain a filing for a limited project because that property is in your control and you subdivide it in such a way to create a hardship.
Well,
We talked about that at the very first hearing.
right, I understand you, I understand, and I understand the significance of what you're saying. And we're trying to present a development proposal for the entire site rather than segregate out the parcels. And we're certainly open to alternatives for that portion of the property, but for the right at the moment, the way we've laid it out is was the easiest for the lot configurations that we are looking for.
Okay, it may be easier now for the subdivision of the lots, but down the road, and I'm sure Paul will agree with me, if you go to two of those lots and say, okay, now we have a substantial wetland crossing to access the lots, the commission does not have to entertain that because there were other alternatives to accessing the lots.
Understood.
I had a technical comment about something I saw on the plans. It looked like there was a septic system with no house. Is
Yeah,
that
yeah, sorry,
okay? If we could have that removed from.
that got left behind. It was one of the other lots. I'm sorry, I see it. I'm looking right at it. Take that off.
Okay.
If I could, Mr. Chairman, go back to your comment about the basins and the
Sure.
50-foot buffer. What basin was it you said? Can you go back and just repeat that for me,
Okay,
please?
sure. Basin 2,
Okay, basin 2, yeah, it's a long one.
the bottom of the basin, the grading for the bottom of the basin is exactly 50 feet from the regulated resource area, which meets the state standard. Are you putting it back up, Rob?
I will, yeah, hold on.
Okay,
I'm gonna zoom in on it.
right, there you go. So the basin bottom is exactly 50 feet, but I think the 50-foot buffer zone is into the grading.
So the 50-foot buffer goes right to the top elevation right here. See it? Oh my God.
So the external.
So it's in the berm.
Right.
It's in the berm, absolutely.
Right. And so in order not to have.
Not
to
in the
get-
basin.
So in order not to get into mitigation for alterations to the 25 to 50-foot limited disturbance zone, you could just shift that portion of the basin, the grading outside the 50, and you'd be okay.
Oh, that's under the local bylaw?
Yes, it is. The 25, there's 25-foot no disturb zone, and then there's the 25 to 50-foot limited disturbance zone for which mitigation is required.
Okay,
And
yeah,
so,
I can probably shift that. simple.
I mean,
enough.
if you do that, then you're, and then in the other.
Yeah, we're only
basin-
talking,
In basin one, when we were out in the field, we talked about the fact that you have room to move that basin entirely out of the inner riparian zone. And because, and there it is, right there.
yeah, I'm looking at it, I'm trying to find it through the base with a lot of lines, and yeah, it
So
goes right here.
you moved it so that the basin bottom was 50 feet away from the resource area, but it's still within the inner riparian zone. And it has to be in the outer riparian zone. I mean, if we go that route.
Okay. Well, we can look at that option.
Okay.
I don't recall taking it out of the 100-foot. I just recall coming out of the 50. I know we had some conversations about it. I just didn't remember that. I'm sorry.
Well, you know, those conversations are in the field. They're not part of the public record. And so.
Yeah,
that's what we
I
did
know.
on-
I just didn't remember it. I probably would have pushed it over had I remembered.
And I
Okay.
think those are just the commission's observations. You know, obviously, we're going to wait
Yeah.
for, well, we'll have to wait and see what the result of your evaluation is. And we will have our peer reviewer present, environmental peer reviewer present at the next continuation. And we can further discuss what we saw, you know, at the crossing site and the removal of that impediment. And so,
Mr. Chairman, I have one question.
sure.
Can you, I don't know if the commission's received my letter earlier yesterday regarding the
Yes.
stormwater requirements for 4 feet of separation from the bottom of the basin to high groundwater. And it seems to me, based on the regulations, that we're entitled to the exemption that's provided in that portion of the regulations. Can you explain what your position is relative to that?
Certainly. When the regulations were promulgated, the commission's consideration was that smaller, denser subdivisions created more concentrated water. And when lots were developed that were over 2 acres in size, that water was easily infiltrated on the individual lots, and that more closely approximated groundwater recharge similarities to pre-development conditions. I'm sure Paul will agree with us. So we put in that exemption in anticipation that if someone wanted to build or create a subdivision with larger lots, they wouldn't have to deal with the 4-foot separation to groundwater and water resource district.
So now let me, so does this subdivision, in my view, I see this subdivision as being exempt from the 4-foot separation requirement that we're only required to be 2 feet of separation. Would you agree with that position?
I think that's what I just said.
Okay, so the design that Rob has proposed with 4 feet of separation is probably not required in this subdivision.
And that may allow him some wiggle room
Yeah.
if we get to the point where we need to shift the basin. Well, we are going to need to shift the basin. It may give him a little more wiggle room to
Okay,
do that if we get there.
yeah, so we're on the same page then, basically,
For that,
Okay.
yeah.
on that particular issue. Okay, thank you.
Are there
Paul,
any?
Paul, do you have any comments or no, Paul?
Well, no, I'm going to ask if there are any questions or comments from the commission on this.
Okay,
Mr. Chair, I have a question on the stormwater report, just a clarification. Let me call it up, hang on a second. So page 4, and then I guess again on page 5, and I didn't get through all 201 pages. I just have too many other things going on in my life to read through it all yet, but they use the same term. I'm just not familiar with it. The paragraph, the section talking about the existing conditions overview on page 3 refers to the existing site is divided into 11 existing watershed subcatchment areas to provide a comprehensive review of surface flows to the surrounding area. Then this is the section I'm questioning. see the attached pre-development subcatchment area plan for delineations with associated reaches, ponds, and design point links. And that term reaches is used in the next page too. What is a drainage reaches, drainage recharge basin, or a reaches, comma, ponds design point? What's a reaches? Anybody else see what I'm talking about, or is that a typo? Is it a term I'm just not familiar with? REACHES. It's used at least twice in those 2 pages. Like I said, I didn't read out through the whole thing, but I
He's
didn't see a
asking- Essentially, he's asking what a reach is. A reach is an area, is an area that it's close to a design point that accepts flow from another area. I think Rob will.
On this site, it was the river.
Okay.
The river's the reach primarily down through the center of the site. So things are flowing into the reach. And then
Okay.
design points and links are just design points.
all right, design point links makes sense. I just hadn't recall ever hearing the word reaches used in that context. So on page 5, it uses the sentence, the runoff has been calculated through various subcatchments, comma, reaches, drainage, recharge basins. That doesn't sound to me like the river. I mean, when
The
we
reach is the river. They're
Yeah,
just all, so you got, there's just multiple things going on. So you have subcatchments, you have recharge basins, you have reaches, you have links. They're all within the HydroCAD.
So
So
the
we're
runoff has been
utilizing in
calculated
this
through
catchment.
various subcatchments, reaches, comma, drainage, recharge basins, and ultimately the river. Is that what you're trying to say in that sentence?
Right, I'm not trying to say the river, it's just the reach.
Well, okay, but
I'd have to go back. I don't have it open. I'm gonna have to go back.
That's
Maybe it
fine.
wasn't,
Just,
maybe it wasn't
confusing.
written
I wasn't
properly.
familiar with the term, and then I saw it used in 2 slightly different ways, and or reaches, drainage, recharge basins didn't make sense to me as to what it was. So, all right. Well, that was just a question I had for information. I have to continue to read more of the document, I suppose, later.
Mr. Chair.
Dominic, yes.
Good evening, Dominic Rinaldi, BSC Group. Sorry if I can sort of help out on that. Basically, all of those things, subcatchments, reaches, ponds, links, they're all elements in HydroCAD that you use to model different things.
Okay.
That's what he's referring to, is they're all different parts of HydroCADs, and they can represent a variety of different things.
So it's like a list of different things.
Yeah, it's different. They all serve different purposes in the HydroCAD model that the applicant has presented. So they're just referencing back to HydroCAD. So I think his reference is correct. It's just,
I just wasn't clear on what it was. I wasn't questioning whether it was correct. I just didn't know what it meant. Okay, thank you for the clarification.
Okay, if there's no further questions or comments from the commission, I'll entertain a motion to continue the hearing to the evening of August 24th at 7 o'clock.
So moved.
Second,
Discussion? I'll do this by roll call. All in favor, Noel,
aye.
Ariane,
Aye.
Mike,
Aye.
Neil.
Aye.
Okay, that's a unanimous vote.
Fabulous. Mr. Chairman, may I ask when we might be able to get a initial review by the peer reviewer? I know you said that the commission usually reviews it before it's distributed. So if we're not meeting for another month.
Right, well, we're gonna need to evaluate the alternatives analysis, because if the information that's provided indicates that the alternative is preferable, a preferable legal option, then, the information that the peer reviewer has now would be moot.
Well,
So,
I understand that, and I'm paying the peer reviewer, so I still think that it's important for us to get a report from the peer reviewer based on the plan
Okay.
that's submitted to
Okay.
date.
Yes,
If you don't,
and
if you
I
don't
think-
mind, I mean, it's, I understand we have this impasse relative to the to the alternatives analysis, but I still would like to get a review of the initial,
Okay, so you want to continue with the review of the project as presented?
correct.
Okay.
So, and I believe, Lou, that you are continued with the planning board, the beginning of August. Is that correct?
Yeah, I forget the date. That's what partly what, I don't know whether or not there will be a
August 10th.
report.
No, 11.
Oh, 11th.
So I may have to continue that depending on whether or not the peer reviewer has a report for the planning board. So I
Yeah.
just don't know where we stand relative to peer reviewer comments. That's all.
Well,
Yeah.
since he's present, why don't we ask Dominic, at the applicant's request, he wants to continue with the review of the project as presented. Any idea when you may have something for them to look at?
Yeah, our plan is to have reports for both the commission and the planning board by, early next week at the latest.
Okay,
So
and that will give,
that would be, sorry, and just let me clarify, that would be to the commission and the planning board, and then obviously they distribute to the applicant. So
Right, and that would be my next question, Mr. Chairman, is if it comes to the commission, would you or someone in your office be distributing that before the next meeting with the commission, or would we have to wait until August 24th?
oh no,
to
the peer
receive-
review is distributed.
As soon-
Okay.
Yeah, as soon as we receive it, Lou, we do distribute it.
I mean, it
Okay,
goes to the
great.
commission first, but then it
Great.
goes to you.
Great, thank you very much. That's all we're asking for.
Okay,
So August 24th.
Yep.
And we'll try to get some information regarding alternatives analysis to the commission a couple of weeks before the meeting. And, certainly we can try to demonstrate why we think this is the most practical alternative.
fair enough.
And we'll move forward on that
Okay.
basis, okay?
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Great, thanks very much, appreciate it.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Bye-bye.
Good night.
Thank you. Good night.
Okay.
I'd just like to state for the record that Anne knows more about any of this stuff than probably the rest of us do combined. And
Well, we appreciate that vote of confidence.
Thank you,
And
Argon.
as, let me just, by way of example, suggest that if you've ever been to a planning board meeting, town planner Jim Cuffer spoke at length on every single project. So our administrator has the ability and is welcome to present any observation she has at any time. This issue has come up a couple times in the past, and we have been firm in our belief that she has the right to speak based on her knowledge and experience. Okay,
As the chair, you decide who can speak or not anyway.
well, that is true.
And if he knows what's good for him, he lets certain people speak who are sitting
Okay.
next to him.
Well, there's
So now
that
we're
too.
going to proceed with the next continuation.
All right. 31
Okay, the Bellingham Conservation Commission will hold continuation of public hearings in accordance with the Wetlands Protection Act, General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40, and the Bellingham Wetlands Protection Bylaw on the notice of intent for the proposal for removal of a 12 by 35-foot section of an existing building, construction of a new 32 by 35 foot addition, installation of a new water line, new septic pipe, and minor grading located within a 100-foot buffer zone to bordering vegetated wetlands at Assessors Map 94, parcel 51, 31 Pothier Street, Bellingham. Paul DeSimone, Colonial Engineering, Medway, Mass. Has submitted the filing on behalf of Social Villa Properties, Blackstone, Mass. The continuations will be held online via the Zoom option on Wednesday, July 27th at 7:30. Apologies, we're a couple minutes late. I see that Mr. Duff is present.
Not Mr. Doe.
Nope.
It should be Paul DeSimone.
Oh, is Paul here?
Yes, I'm here.
Oh,
Paul is here.
okay. Paul is the green telephone. Okay. We're open and
All right.
ready to go.
Ready? All right, well, as you know, we revised the plans. We just got them into her, I think, today, so I know no one's had a chance to see them. But
Yeah,
the changes on the, I'm sorry, go ahead.
no, the administrator informed me that the plan came in. I haven't even looked at it, but we thought you might want to make a presentation, but it looks like you're traveling. So you won't be able to call
Yes.
up your screen?
No, I can't.
Okay.
But anyways, the changes on the actual plan were, we moved Dan American did the new infiltration, did the drainage calcs. You have a package for that. And so we moved the water line a little further away from the recharge area, which would be away from the wetlands a little bit, not far, just a few feet. Of course, we have revised dates on the plans. The offset to the recharge area is about 52 feet. The new recharge area. It's roughly in the same
Excuse
place.
me,
It's just a
Paul.
little
You didn't
bigger.
distribute it,
I
did you?
did.
Oh,
Does
Okay,
anyone have availability to put that plan up on the screen?
Yeah, I'm working on it right now. 1 second.
Thank you,
okay,
Noel.
thanks.
I didn't mean to interrupt you, Paul. It'd just be easier if we can see what you're talking
He
about.
won't be able to see it. but
Yeah,
that's-
no, I fully understand, yeah.
It'll make it easier for the commission.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Thank you, Noel. I was trying to do that with my cursor and it wasn't working.
All right.
So again, the only changes on the actual plan itself, the addition's the same, the tear down section's the same, the septic system's the same. The only thing that's actually changed is the new recharge area that Dan designed and just moving the water line a little bit away from it, which goes a little further away from the wetlands. And that's the only changes to the plan other than, of course, the revision date. The package you got from Dan has all the drainage information, the checklist that DEP wanted is in there. All that stuff is in that package that you received. And I know you haven't had a chance to look at it yet.
Paul, did you send the revised materials to DEP?
Yes, we
Okay.
did.
Thank you.
We sent them a copy of the plan and that report that Dan did.
Okay. So I'm going to ask the commission to take a look at the revised plan and look at the revised
Checklist.
drainage calculations, especially with the checklist,
Mhm.
stormwater checklist. And you know, if anyone has any comments or questions, if you'll let Ian know, she can pass it on to Paul. And with any kind of luck, we can get it taken care of before the next hearing.
Yeah, I mean, if you guys have any comments, just let me know. I know we got it in late. Dan's on vacation. He did it from his, he actually did it on vacation.
Well, yeah, I don't feel so sorry for him because while we were on vacation, Ian did quite a bit of work remotely as well. So I get it.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, no, well, he came through. He came through.
So just to refresh everyone's memory, it's a commercial property. Even though it's redevelopment, DEP needs to see the stormwater management checklist to see if any improvements have been made. And so that's where we were. We had a feeling that that might happen and it did. So I'm going to ask everyone to please take a look at it. And if you have any questions or comments, please let us know so we can pass it on to Paul. Okay. Any questions or comments now? All right, I'll entertain a motion to continue the hearing to the evening of August 10th at 7 o'clock.
So moved.
Neil,
Second.
Noel, discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 I'll do roll call on this because it's a legally binding decision. So Noel,
Aye.
Ariane,
Aye.
Mike,
I may have to defer to my lawyer, so
Yeah,
this is a
okay.
legally binding decision, but I guess in the interim, I will go with an aye.
and Neil.
And as advised by counsel, I will vote aye.
Oh, that's very good advice. All right, thank you.
Lawyer up.
Um,
All right,
Thanks,
guys,
Paul.
thanks a lot. All right, take care.
We'll see you in a
Thanks, Bob.
couple of weeks.
All righty, thanks.
Okay.
All right, bye.
You need anything signed?
No. Mm-mm. Yeah, yeah, right.
Okay.
We got those, don't we?
Help me out.
Um,
Did we get the minutes for June 8th out?
Yes, I think we did.
I remember working on them. I remember Mike had unmute
We only got the ones for the 8th, I think, correct?
the 8th, right?
Yeah, okay.
The 22nd hasn't been reviewed yet.
Okay.
So any questions from the commission on the minutes of the 8th? Okay. Hearing none and seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to accept the minute meetings from Wednesday, June 8th.
So moved.
I second.
Okay. We won't do a roll call. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, there it is. Okay, that's a unanimous vote. Okay. Anything else from our?
No.
Okay. I see that the applicant's representative for Zero Lovers Lane is present. I'm going to ask Mr. Arnold if he would be amenable to opening up the continuation a little early.
Mr. Chairman, this is Mark Arnold with Goddard Consulting. Just wanted to make sure that the rest of the project team
Not a problem.
That's a good-
It's not
here,
a
I
problem.
see Mr. Duff. Do not see Kevin Martin. Let's see if I can get him on the
Mark.
line.
Mark, it's okay. We'll wait.
So just give me, if you don't mind, give me a moment, just make sure he's
Okay.
here.
Not a problem. And peer reviewer is present. Okay. So one of the things that we are going to have to do is get back out to Prospect. And we're going to have to review the areas that were identified as degraded riverfront areas. I don't know what people's upcoming Saturdays look like. We have 4 weeks to get back out there. And I'm sure that most of the commission is not aware of the fact that the applicant removed an impediment at a collapsed drainage channel in an attempt to artificially lower the mean high annual water mark of a perennial stream, which is a violation. He did it without a permit, irrespective of what his contention is, which I believe is, well, we're just trying to let the water flow. We have to guard against that kind of activity without a filing. That site hasn't been actively gravel mined for many years. The collapsed culvert is it's an occurrence of just age and lack of use. But it sure makes it easier for them next year when they say, well, the riparian zone isn't that large. He admitted to it in the field, and our peer reviewer, Matt Byrne, was present, witnessed it, and so we're going to have to deal with this at some point.
Are we gonna,
Yeah, oh, good.
Sounds fine with me.
yeah, I mean, I think we should proceed with action against that.
Well, I think what I would
I
recommend.
mean, I think they need an enforcement order.
Let's see.
What doesn't scream enforcement order about that?
Oh,
You made the case more plainly than anyone.
Good point, Neil.
I know they were paying, but you made the case.
Yeah,
I certainly did. I was in a state of shock when the applicant admitted to taking the action.
if he thinks we were just gonna let it slide, it's a pipe dream, man. There's no way.
I think the thing that was most annoying to me is when he said, well, mean high annual watermark won't be the same this year. It'll be a lot lower.
Well, I think it's a clear violation. I think he needs to be called to task on it.
Then we will take that action. Now,
Do we need a vote?
So moved.
before we take a vote on that action, what I would like the commission to suggest a course of action, because when you issue an enforcement order, you have to inform the applicant of what his duties and responsibilities will be under that order.
So the
So
corrective
what-
action is what Cliff is referring to.
He'd have to restore the flow to its approximate capacity before he made the change.
He has to reinstall the impediment.
Correct. He has
Do
to
we know-
he has to restore the flow through the culvert to what it was prior to his action.
Is that gonna impact any existing properties or like further upgrading, like regardless of the proposed project? Like, is it possible that it's been causing flooding where the soils that they looked at hydric when they went out and did test pitting in that area?
Okay, so this is a situation, in the springtime, when we went out to do the wetland delineation, mean high annual watermark was the edge of the resource area. We all saw it. I saw it when I went out to evaluate the soil testing. Now we're in the middle of a drought and the impediment has been removed. So what the applicant is claiming is that the width of the perennial stream at the point of the reduced flow right now is about a foot wide instead of,
I don't see any scientific basis for that.
well, they're anticipating where there is a bank. Now there's a clear bank, and he's saying steer clearly defined bank and channel. That's mean high annual water. And with the impediment removed, mean high annual water will be substantially reduced from what it was this spring.
Well, that's why the flow through the impediment needs to be restored.
Okay.
The flow and height of the impediment, it needs to be restored to as close to what it was as possible.
Yep.
Just since we've never really done enforcement orders, I have a question. So if we issue an enforcement order, do as Neil suggests, which I think is the direction to go, restore the level of impedimicity, and he decides not to do that, and then says, I'm going to go to DEP, because he indicated in the conversation earlier tonight that that's sort of the direction, oh, we have to fight this out with DEP, let's see what they say. Is there a chance, in your opinion, either of your opinion, Cliff or Ann, that the DEP would say, yeah, you are just maintaining a culvert that's on your property, you have the right to do that, even if it's been 25 years and you never maintained it since then, or whatever? Would we be likely immediate reversal? Not that would stop me from still trying to maybe do the enforcement order, but just a question, is that how they would go? DEP would have to speak on this if he refuses to abide by the enforcement order and decides to fight it with DEP?
Well, there's a couple of things at play here. I think that the applicant thinks that we're issuing the enforcement order under the local bylaw. We'll issue the enforcement order under the WPA. I think that there are policies at DEP that speak to abandoned structures. And I think that given the fact that it has not been used, or when it has been used decades ago, it was used as a haul road. It's not like it's supporting a lot of traffic, that it is in a degraded condition, and it's not a public thoroughfare, that they would consider the fact that it was an intentional alteration to be invalid. That's my opinion, but that's DEP's opinion. And you know, when we kick things to DEP, we never know what we're going to get.
Right. As opposed to WPA, which they've got to dispute this with the federal government if they want to go that far, right?
No,
Right, so in any event,
no, the state, not the feds.
Well, if we're doing it under the WPA, wetlands.
That's the
Protection Act-
wetland protect, that's a state law.
Oh, I thought it was the DEP had a different version of that. Not WPA was only.
no, you're
federal.
thinking EPA.
Maybe. Yeah. Okay. All these acronyms. Okay.
We don't want to deal with the EPA.
No.
No.
Okay, so I think I'm sensing a consensus. So I think what I'm going to do is I'll entertain a motion to issue an enforcement order instructing the applicant to replace the impediment, to restore the site to the previously unaltered condition.
So
Yeah.
moved.
Okay,
Second.
all right. We'll do a roll call on this one too. Neil,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Ariane,
Aye.
and Noel.
Aye.
Okay, by unanimous vote.
Are we gonna cite the specific part of the law that he violated? I feel like that would really help him understand. Like this one right here, alter means to change the condition of any area subject to protection under Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40. Examples of alteration include but are not limited to the following. A, the changing of pre-existing drainage characteristics, flushing characteristics, salinity distribution, et cetera, et cetera.
We certainly will.
We should have them sign this.
And what we'll do is once we draft the document, we'll send it out for distribution and we'll get everybody to sign it.
Sweet.
Sounds good. I'm less optimistic than Ariane is that will make a difference in convincing and making.
Well,
others.
we'll see.
But maybe his consultant will be able to talk him into.
We can put a time frame on it.
Yeah.
You have to put-
We have to put a time frame on it
I'd say 30 days. It's not hard to go get a.
before our
log
next meeting.
rock
30 days is-
Wait a minute, to do what?
To
Right,
put the
30
impediments
days.
back in.
Are we gonna re-inspect it? What if he does it with trash?
Well, if he doesn't comply, then we'll have to request that DEP get involved and consider the issuance of fines and penalties.
Yeah, we don't know what it was blocked with before anyway, do we? Dirt, trash,
I
logs.
honestly
Probably
cannot
sediment.
say I could specify what exactly boulders were moved. However, there was a big boulder downstream that didn't exist there 6 months ago. So it's possible that they just took one boulder from one side and put it on the downstream side right in the wetland. So we'll see. Okay, so we've addressed that business. We will be in contact with you on that. And now it is a couple of minutes before the next hearing. So I'll proceed with the reading of the advertisement. The Bellingham Conservation Commission will hold continuations of public hearings in accordance with the Wetlands Protection Act, General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40, and the Bellingham Wetlands Protection Bylaw on the notice of intent for the proposed project consisting of toe embedment of an existing armored slope in order to provide for a stable slope foundation and located in the buffer zone to bordering vegetated wetlands. Filing also proposes 1,330 square feet of buffer zone restoration for buffer zone disturbance. The project is located at Assessor's Map 64, Parcel 212, 0 Lovers Lane, Bellingham. Mark Arnold, Goddard Consulting, Northborough, Mass. Has submitted the filing on behalf of Rick Terrell, South Center Realty, Milford, Mass. The continuation will be held on the evening of July 27th at 8. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate you waiting till 8 o'clock. We're not sure what happened to Kevin Martin, but we have his letter that we submitted. So I guess I'll just give the commission a quick update where we stand. So the commission requested peer review on the structural and design of the toe embedment for the armored slope to be done by BSC. We received their peer review letter dated July 6th, and we responded in a letter dated July 22nd, which also included a letter directly from UTS stamped by Kevin Martin, who's a professional engineer, and that was also dated July 22nd, 2022. 21st, sorry, July 21st. So I'm just going to walk quickly through the comments. I'm not going to read them, but I'm just going to just generally go through each of the responses. So the first few comments by BSC were in dealing with the original discussions that we had with the commissions about why we were here, why the armored slope was desired to be kept in place, why this certain amount of disturbance was necessary, what we were proposing for mitigation to restore that. And we also discussed with the commission doing significant mitigation in the open space. Further, we also proposed to do 3 years of monitoring of all vegetation for this project, which includes any of the grasses that are at the top of the armored slope, to ensure we have full stabilization of all areas for 3 years of monitoring, to ensure that we have good stabilization of the vegetation once everything is established. I did update the restoration sequencing protocol just to be clear that the plantings are not to be placed above the toe of the existing stones as shown in the cross section, just so that was clear. But again, the UTS agrees with that, and they'll be out there directing work, as will myself for the restoration. The plan was updated just to provide some clearer information on the cross section. So we have a true cross section. So there's no drainage structures, it's just utilities behind this wall, lines with the water, sewer, and drainage, along with your electrical. The plan also added no snow storage signs at the top of the armored slope, so that no snow storage is there, so that will reduce any type of recharge that would occur from snow
Mark,
storage.
I'm just going to stop you for a second, okay? As you're going to do exactly what I was going to do, and that's okay. You can ruin your voice. What I'm going to, but when I see something, I'm going to mention it. So the cross-section revision in your consultant's letter, they still have the old UTS still has the old cross-section showing that drain manhole and catch basin immediately adjacent to the slope. That's the one that got me all crossed up at our last meeting. If you look at page.
Yeah, I see it, Mr. Chairman. So that was that's just a graphical representation for what UTS was looking at for the armored slope, and the cross section on the Gary and Howland plan is the cross section for the project. That's the design plan. So that's the cross section that was updated. So I think Kevin may have forgotten to just cross paste that figure over into his letter. But the site plan that's before you from Gary and Howland is the plan that we are having proposed for approval.
Could you call that one up to show the commission?
Yep. So here's the this was stamped July 21st, 2022. Here is the cross section. So basically, again, there's the only thing behind this wall is it's a filled slope, and you have sewer, drain, water, utilities and gas.
Okay.
So there's, that's basically it. So it's all basically compacted gravel fill when they raise this road to grade.
Okay, no, that's it. That's good. I mean,
And then if you go over here, you can see the no snow storage signs, 3 of them across the slope, right behind the guardrail.
okay,
So continuing on, the other comments were mainly comments directed at UTS, which they did address in their letter, which they were amendable to insofar that they were fine with doing monitoring, which included X, Y, and Z points traversed, surveyed for several years to ensure that there was no movement of the wall. And then they did list out that fill was going to be listed at 1 foot fills for the toe embedment. This is standard Massachusetts DPW common borrow fill material. So it's good material to backfill and compact to get 92% compaction, which is what's required. Testing every lift, which is every 12 inches, there'll be a compaction test to ensure compaction is correct. And the UTS will be out there doing testing and regular inspections for all the work as we've previously noted, but that is our intention. And we can provide the information to the commission about the inspections and the survey to document that the slope is not moving. And so I can go into further details, but that's in general what UTS has provided in writing.
okay. So if we look at your response 8C.
Yep.
Okay, what we're gonna do, when we have restoration or planting enhancements as mitigation, you're correct, we always require a 3-year monitoring period. We're okay with that, but we also have a bond established. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna request that you suggest a value of that bond to assure that A, the work is complete, and B, if you or others are not available and we have plant mortality, they can be replaced. Standard procedure.
Okay.
So
Let me think about that and check current plant pricing.
okay, we figured that you would know.
Yeah, I could give you an idea now, but I want to check current plant pricing considering the current price of things.
Please make sure that your estimate does not include any cents in it, like at 95 cents.
Will do.
Thanks.
Okay, the other thing I want to do is I'm going to request that I believe that all this information has been submitted to the DPW. Is that, have they been on the distribution list, Mark? Do you know? I think they
I
They
tried to, I have been sending him, I've been sending Don DiMartino the information. I don't think he has received this information though, because we were on vacation.
Yeah, I didn't send it directly to him. So I wouldn't think I was asked to directly do that. I think our goal was to make sure that BSC was happy, since BSC has pretty good experience with geostructural slopes and stabilization. I think our hope was to have BSC satisfied, which I think if BSC is satisfied, so far we've not heard anything in writing from DPW about our previous submittals.
And
so
Mark, that's one of the things that we're going to request. In fact, Ann has just suggested that she'll send all this latest information to Don. We'll ask him to respond in writing as part of the record. And if he's satisfied, and I don't see any reason why he wouldn't be, it'll satisfy that requirement for us.
that sounds good.
And let's see now. This is what we did on this weekend, getting back from vacation. So UTS, I think I had one thing in their information. Okay. if page 7 in the UTS report,
Yep.
it says additional comments to address our review. First bulleted item, the armored slope is constructed to elevate the roadway and to provide stabilization to a steep and slope embankment. The embankment will be dry with no exposure to groundwater. Further, the top of the slope will be paved with perimeter curbing and a storm drain system to collect and capture the water. Is that the area on the roadway that will be within the Cape Cod berm that he's referring to?
Yes.
Okay. And then he says, lastly, a subsurface drain is to be installed to collect any possible water. And I didn't see that on the plans.
Yeah, that might have been from the last plan revision when we were contemplating putting on a subsurface drain. And decided not to because of the way we have everything graded right now. So I think that's.
You don't think that that's
No, that's not the intention to do a subsurface drain, because we have a fill slope here where the groundwater was well below the slope of this wall when it was raised up. There's no natural groundwater that's going to be coming through that wall.
okay, and so the subsurface drain isn't going to be required. I didn't recall that it was going to be a requirement, but I'm going to ask that you just eliminate that from this, because this is going to be referred to in the plans as part of the plans of record.
Understood.
And I think that was the only questions the commission had. However, I will say that the report appeared to be thorough, and that many of the items in your comment or in this report anticipate our special conditions. So that's helpful. We may just steal your language instead of trying to make it up as we go along.
That's fine.
Okay. I'm sorry. All right. Does anyone from the commission have a question or comment? Dominic, any observations based on the, I know we haven't received anything official. I'm thinking it's going to be forthcoming. If there's anything that the commission may have missed, please let us know and we can instruct the applicant to address it.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. For the record, Dominic Rinaldi with BSC Group, peer reviewer for the commission. No, I think I was happy to see, particularly on the UTS side, a lot of the revisions they made to address our comments and being amenable to that monitoring, the post-construction monitoring. And I would say that portion of it can certainly, I think, if the commission is amenable to that being a special condition for the project to detail that monitoring. And I would just say, if certainly if UTS, who does this type of work regularly, had sort of an alternative monitoring, since we came up with something that largely came from our basis as started out as a survey company. So certainly if they had some alternative means of monitoring on a project they've done similarly, I think we can absolutely listen to that. But it was good to see this the pieces added in, and even stuff that might have been a little redundant. It's good in there. As I think we said before, overall I think it's a good restoration plan. However we got here, doing this is the most appropriate alternative of the alternatives that may exist. And this seems like the right course of action and way to do it.
Okay. Well, we'll look forward to your final report, and I believe that we're getting very close to wrapping this whole thing up. This might be the last continuation. We'll await the minor details. If there no further questions from the commission, I'll entertain a motion to continue the hearing to the evening of August 10th at 7:30.
Moved.
Second,
I think that was Noel, and I think that was Ariane. We'll do a roll call on this one. Neil,
Aye.
Mike,
Aye.
Ariane,
aye.
and Noel.
Aye.
Okay, excellent.
Mr. Chairman, I just want to clarify and just confirm that we're going to resubmit the UTS letter with the sentence. Lastly, a subsurface drain is to be installed to collect any possible groundwater will be struck from that letter.
Yep.
For the record, we'll get that to you as soon as possible. Otherwise, we will look forward to hearing from DPW and getting BSC's official letter.
Right. Oh, and also, I know that it is in the plans, but the catch basin that shows on the UTS letter,
Yeah, I'll get that updated to you. Yep.
have them blank that out.
Yep.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Take care now.
Good night.
Good night.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, before I just jump off, just so, sorry, I meant to mention it at the first, after the end of the first hearing, just so the commission all knows, this is sorry about previous hearings. The 24th, I will send an alternate version of me because I'm going to be in Wyoming.
Oh,
Oh,
nice. How
and,
exciting for you.
And fortunately, in a part of Wyoming where I don't think I'm going to have a lot of internet access.
Sounds fun.
that might be the whole state.
That sounds like
Yeah,
most of
that's
Wyoming. Yeah,
true.
exactly.
Yeah, but we're going to
Okay.
Grand Teton and Yellowstone. So
Do you know if Matt will be present?
I believe, I mean, Matt's on vacation this week, so
Right, we
I
understood.
think hopefully he'll be back then, but I'll verify that with him. And since you'll have our letter, we will make sure that somebody from my engineering group is there as well.
Okay,
So,
all right. Thank you
All right.
very much, Dominic.
Good.
Thank
and I will
you.
see you guys in, I guess, 2 weeks on the 10th, right?
Yes.
Take care, everybody. Have a good night.
You too, thanks.
Have a good
Thanks, you
night.
too.
Good night.
Anyone else have any comments or questions?
Signatures needed?
No, I don't believe we need signatures this time. But we will be needing signatures for the enforcement action. And we'll rely on our administrator to notify everybody and try to find a time amenable.
I'll send the draft out to everyone so you can cast an eye on it.
Sounds good.
Okay.
We just
Motion
have to-
to adjourn.
And thank Tina for her note taking. Thank you, Tina.
Oh, and sorry, just one thing on the wall.
Okay,
Given the assurances we were given by the applicant about lot 80 and the wall and how that worked out, I don't believe anything that they said.
okay. And you know, our lack of confidence in them is well founded. This project's been going on for 12 years. The filing itself took 6 years.
And they have
mucked it up.
they have not done what they were supposed to do on occasions too numerous to catalog here.
Mhm.
And
The report.
if this wall doesn't end up in the resource area, it will within the next 10 years, it'll be a miracle.
Well, based on the structural analysis of the consultant that Goddard brought in, I have a higher degree of confidence. And one of the things that really led me to have that confidence is the fact that this wall was constructed when the road was being roughed out. So this wall has been in existence for 5-6 years, much of the time unpaved. And even now currently carrying a high weight load of equipment going back and forth. And there's been no evidence of shifting. So once the heavy equipment's gone, the top coat's in, the drainage is in, with the monitoring period that's being proposed. We had an informal, Ann had an informal, I believe, conversation with Don. And he did not seem to be, I don't want to put words in her mouth,
No, you're right.
but he seemed to have a high degree of confidence. And ultimately, it's the DPW that's going to have to deal with any problems.
One of the things that we can suggest, we're talking about it, is so the ZBA has this covered under their 40B permit because it's 40B. And we could suggest to them that when the applicant goes in front of them with a modification proposal, that maybe the ZBA could incorporate some kind of an indemnification or something.
That's a great idea.
I mean, it would be something.
Because that governs the whole project.
I just think they'll find a way to screw it up.
Well,
And I know that they will screw up, lifting equipment down to the bottom of the slope and working in the open space and all that stuff. They're gonna make a mess. They're gonna screw it up. They're not gonna do it right. They've never done anything right so far. And I don't think they're gonna start now.
Now I'll present a counterpoint to that. They have really messed up, but they've had 2 projects that were important to the commission recently. The first one was we allowed the developer to, instead of install new rain gardens in houses where they didn't educate people that they had them and they filled them in, we allowed them to connect the 2 wetland systems in the center of the project in the open space, if you recall that. And Ecotech was responsible, did the maintenance. Ann and I have checked that out. It came out quite good. And then the other thing is the basin C, the bottom of the hill. Finally, when we had an engineer do the work.
Yep.
And it
That took years.
Sean Malone.
That took years
It's true.
to sort out.
It did, but he.
After they built it wrong in the first place, then they. Yeah.
I know.
You're proving my point.
We lived it too. So just rest assured that Goddard will be watching this project. It's going to be permitted that way. And the engineering company that submitted the proposal will be overseeing it and doing monitoring, compaction testing, surveying to make sure there's no movement, all of that. So that won't be in the hands of G&H. G&H they'll be driving the equipment. That's about it. Hopefully they don't go off the edge.
I resisted the temptation to speak on the fact that in the BSC group letter and Goddard's responses to the number 1 is the kind of thing that irks the heck out of me, because on the record now, it looks like Goddard's response to BSC's observation about, well, no reason was given for an armored slope being put in instead of the original retaining wall. And Goddard's response was, I have right here a second. The commission has been fully informed on the reasons for the proposed armored slope and has not objected to its proposal. The purpose of the continued hearings is to ensure long-term stability of the toe embedment and the final work on the slope. It's basically, we're going to talk about the toe embedment, final work of the slope, and misinform the public that it looks like we went along with the armored slope and we were informed about the reasons, when in fact it was, oh, they put in an armored slope instead of the wall that they were supposed to and never told anyone like they were supposed to.
It's true.
So-
And you do raise a valid point, Mike. But I will say that Don DiMartino did not want a block wall there anyway. He did not want that thing pulled out.
We didn't know that.
And we didn't know it at the time. And you're absolutely right. They never came to us and said, oh, we're putting this in instead. You're absolutely correct. But now that we have this in, now it becomes a matter of trying to repair a situation. Point
Make
well
the be-
taken.
Yeah, make the best of a situation that is bad, but also should not have happened to start with because they shouldn't, I
Should
mean.
not have happened.
No.
Yeah, if Don didn't want it, he should have told us, you know, hey, they need to come back and do something different because I don't like it. And hey,
Let me ask Neil. Neil,
Once again, it's better to ask for forgiveness than
Yes.
permission.
Yeah.
would you have more confidence if we said tear the block wall out and rebuild an engineered wall? Would you have more confidence?
No,
No, neither would I.
possibly less.
So lesser of two evils?
It's still evil.
Yeah, I just hate to see sloppy,
No argument, man. No argument.
sloppy, semi-illegal actions being rewarded with them getting away with basically it.
Oh,
We should
they're not being rewarded, believe me.
have a pool.
What are they
We should
gonna
have a
do?
pool of, you know, what's gonna go wrong? They're gonna accidentally drop a backhoe down the slope.
How long it's gonna take?
Yeah,
to
I
go
mean,
wrong.
yeah, we could come up with some sort of Fafford bingo.
All right,
All right, well,
motion to adjourn.
yeah, so moved.
Second.
All in favor?
All right,
Bye.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much.
so should we send get well cards to Brian? And condolence cards? Is he gonna come on
I-
board? Do you say?
I don't know.
He's
Ann's
not
gonna be
gonna
in touch with him. She spoke with his wife yesterday. Brian.
Oh.
He sent an email today saying he,
Actually, Brian called me today.
Oh.
Yeah, he's in a little tough shape right now. Evidently, he was unconscious for a full hour, which is why when the emergency
Oh.
wagon came, they brought him, they just bypassed Milford Hospital and went right to UMass. But
That's
he's-
almost always a good idea.
yeah,
He's pretty much, well, he's stable now, but he's got to really take it easy. Eileen has said that he's sleeping a lot. But he did leave a message with me today. I didn't want to call him back.
Oh, that's too bad.
Yeah.
Should we be
Yeah.
starting an
he's-
ambulance donation fund?
he is happy to be back with us again.
Yeah.
When we thought he
Good.
was going to be gone.
Good.
Okay, so I have a motion and a
Right.
second. All in favor to adjourn?
Aye.
We already did that.
Oh,
Yeah,
did I?
aye. Good night.
Darn.
Thank
Aye.
you so much.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
Good night.
Aye, thank you.
Bye.
Good night.